Good evening and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and I'm going to be taking you through a little bit of watercolour tonight. So this is a slight change to what I had in mind, but Ian wanted to play. So, hi Mum! So we've laser printed our design onto our all media card from Paper Mill Direct instead of doing the watercolour pencil that I did have planned. So if you would still want to do that, you can do. It's really easy to just pop a watercolour pencil either in your probably universal pen holder if you have a round barrel pencil, or if you have a hexagonal one, easy for me not to say, you can put that into the 3D fun prints holder. So I'll just wait a few moments to make sure that everybody is able to find us okay. Don't be afraid to say hi. Oh, excuse me. So have you all had a good day? I've been really busy actually. Really productive day. So I'm going to get started with a simple bit of Inktense colouring. So you'll notice at the top of the screen I have 3 palettes. So this one is Inktense number 1. This one is Inktense number 2, which came out about, what, a year later, hopefully. And finally we have the brand new pastel shades.
Deb too.
Hi Deb! So you're going to be back home for tomorrow then? Ah, and Joyce got the laser printer too.
What we suggesting?
Must be. I don't think did I pop up a link for our new one? I haven't yet, I don't think. Unless I'm being awfully efficient. We ended up going for a Brother 3020. Is that right? Something like that. So it does 2 sides as well as...
Deb says yeah, hopefully by 4 PM tomorrow.
Cool. So I'm just going to start with a nice wet brush, and I'm actually going to wet my paper first. So this is a good opportunity to just check to see if your print is bleeding. So laser shouldn't. But if you're working with an inkjet, it might be.
Hi Louise.
So I'm going to go with the Mango, which is the paler orange out of the 2 Inktense palettes. And I'm just going to bring that in and introduce that into the wet. So you can see straight away it's going to start giving us a bit of a nice random texture. And I'm just going to drop a little bit more down one end. Okay. So this time you're still probably going to have a little bit of that pigment in there, but don't be worried too much. And again, I'm going to pick up a bit more of that same colour, and I'm just going to drop it in from that central point. So, wet a few more of these. And I'm just going to drop that in.
Are you very naughty?
Me?
Yeah.
But why am I being naughty? Could it possibly be because I'm showing the Inktense palette? Possibly.
Yeah. Even though it's Louise saying that you're naughty, it's time to go to.
Okay. So, as I'm working my way around, I'm going to just wet those. Now try not to go over the edges of your laser toner if you can help it. Just so that we're not bleeding into our other areas. And I'm going to follow a little bit of what the lines say in the outline for shading. If there's anything a bit too harsh, you can always blend it out with a bit of water, like I just did. So you only ever need reasonably small amounts of your Inktense on your brush, because it is an ink rather than a watercolour, so it's got quite a punch to it. I'm just going to drop a little bit more in there just to help lift this petal forward a little bit. It just looks a little bit pale.
Black really stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so when you're working with black outlines you can get away with far more. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry for a bit. Give my brush a bit of a clean. So for this first one, alright, the brush that I'm using is a number 10.
10 round.
Yeah, 10 round.
Who's it by?
That is a jolly good question. It's the one that we have linked on our shop. So again, I'm going to add some more water. That's not very wet, so I'm just going to add a bit more. So remember, your toner is kind of almost plastic based, so it's going to repel the water to a certain extent. So I'm going to pick up some of our lightest green. So what I would say with Inktense is you can always go darker, but trying to go lighter sometimes is not quite so easy to do. So start light and get darker. Okay, so for this one, as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it could do with being slightly more of a yellowy tone to that green. So I'm just going to drop in a little bit of the yellow ochre, so not too much, just a little. Right into that kind of deepest shaded bit. Okay, and again we're going to let that dry. So for this first one we've kind of stayed within our outlines. For the next one I'm going to get a bit more abstract, and let's go with I'm going to start off with some sun yellow, and I'm not going to be too fussy about how I apply this. I'm literally going round in a spiral. So we've got most of that yellow in the middle, and it's going to fade outwards so that we've got our deepest colour in the centre. I'm going to give my brush a little wash, and let's pick up a tiny bit of that mango colour again. Now there's a lot more water in my brush this time than there is pigment, so this is just going to give it a slight tinge. So kind of think of this as like tidying up your edges. But you don't want to be too tidy. The reason being, I'm going to start bringing that colour around the outside in a minute. So again, I'm cleaning my brush, pick up a little bit more water, and this time I'm going to go to the bright orange from number 2, and I can get a bit darker still. Okay, so I'm going to take some of that bright orange and pop that right in the centre. That's going to make the centre of our flower then drop through. So now I'm going to start bringing some water around, and you'll notice I'm not being that fussy about where I'm touching that wet paint. So those colours start to bleed outwards. And it's a good way of just bringing that colour through into our background. So this could be that you're going to eventually cut it out into a panel. Okay, things falling over randomly on their own. Don't get freaked out. Okay. So, while that's still wet, I'm going to go to my Sherbet Lemon. And I'm going to come into these leaves with that kind of, it's almost got like a tinge of lime to it. So it's like green without being green. So it's a good place to start for a highlight on a leaf. And like I said before, I'm not being particularly careful because I want that kind of lighter colour to bleed out.
Yeah, very spooky.
Yeah, no reason for it to fall over.
What was it as well?
It was one of the ink pads. Haven't been anywhere near it for like days. Okay, so if you just want to soften that edge, just dry your brush off first. And we can start to blend that out. So if you want to be able to direct cut this watercolour area, leave it stronger, but if you're just going to do it onto a panel, we can blend it out and soften that edge a bit. So now I'm going to go to a slightly stronger green, and I think I'm going to go, how brave shall I be today? Ooh, let's be brave, so I'm going to go turquoise. And just drop that in. So, like you can, they're true to their name, aren't they, the Inktenses? They do really pack a punch.
Cal has a ghost called George. Last week when I got up, the radio was playing. Not used that radio for months.
The kids used to live in a haunted house, didn't they?
Yeah, dead spot on the wall, didn't they?
Yeah. Would kill anything with a battery, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It was just weird. Didn't matter what it was. I mean, whatever you do, if your pacemaker don't live there. But yeah, weird house. Okay. So, next one. What should we go for on this one? Should we go for our pastels finally?
Mm-hmm.
So this one we have to be a bit more careful with. So I'm going to start off with a base wash with the Inktenses, just because, as you will see when we get to the pastels, we've got to go really careful to avoid our line work with our pastels. So let's do some shading first that we can then highlight over the top of. So I'm using some Mango again. And let's go for our bright orange as well. So when you're starting to get confident with your paints, it's a good idea to have 2 or 3 different shades that you're using within your colouring. And let's go all the way over this little flower here, because we can differentiate with that when we come to go over with our pastels. Let's bring some of that bright orange back in. I'm also going to put a bit down there as well. This is definitely one of those where you might start panicking that it doesn't look right, but go with it. Keep going.
Just keep painting.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to soften that bit there as well. Don't be afraid to turn your work as well. Unless you're working on an easel. Makes it a bit more tricky then. Just a tidge. Okay. So I'm going to move to a smaller brush now.
Size?
And this one is a 2. So going one extreme to the other. So you're probably going to want to brush with a bit of resistance to it. You don't want it to be too soft. So it's nice and easy to keep to your outline. And I'm going to go to this section here with our pastels. So the pastel isn't a watercolour, it's almost a gouache. God blimey. That's freaky. So I'm going to be going to the lemon first, and I'm going to use this to kind of pick up the highlights. So rather than going white with our highlights, I'm going to go lemon. Now if you want to use white, there's actually a white in Inktense number 2. But then when we get to areas like this, we're just going to go really careful so that we don't get it on our outline. You can use them on black card if you want to. But they're almost like neon-like on white. It's quite a funky effect. I'm just going to add a little bit more water. I'm just shaping my brush by rolling it in the paint. So if you've got a random hair that's just sticking out and just being annoying, sometimes if you just roll it in the paint, it'll actually start to behave. So first one I'm going where my white areas are, and then I'll go back in and actually do some areas over the Inktense as well. Oh. Come on, you can't giggle and not let me in.
No, I'm laughing at the captions.
Go on.
Inktense.
What am I working with today?
Tense.
Tense.
Tense blue ink.
Okay. So a bit more of that lemon. So you don't need oodles of water with this particular paint. Now, one of the reasons why I'm trying to stay within the lines is Ian thought it'd be a really good idea if we tried and foiled this.
That was your idea, not mine.
No, it's definitely yours. Okay, so I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this lemon, and then we can start to do a little bit of feathery details now. I'm just going to do little light strokes heading towards the centre of our flower. And even where we've done this kind of blending between the two, we can still go back over the top. Oh, that was a bit too far. I think I rescued that. Now, one of the things I will say about the pastels is they kind of develop. So the colour that they go on is not the colour that they stay. They actually become lighter and more opaque as they dry. So this is something to bear in mind when you're doing this particular little bit. So with this top section, I'm going to try and follow that curve round. It's not the easiest challenge. What?
Yeah, so we take on.
Okay, so next I'm going to go to my coral pink, which is the palette's kind of version of a pale red.
Okay, Deb.
You're off to pack.
Yeah, she's got to go. Then she'll watch the rest later.
Okay, so again, I'm working with the darker colour, but this time I'm working from the centre out. Oh, it locked. That's not good. So these give a very different effect to your Inktenses. So I will hold this up a bit close to the camera so you can see better as well. So, given that we're not streaming on Monday now, when are we going to close the challenge?
Tuesday?
Yeah, sounds like a plan. So there you go, you have until Tuesday to do the box challenge. Those of you that haven't already entered. Okay, so now very carefully I'm just going to bring this up from the bottom again. Or what would be the bottom of the flower if it was a three-dimensional object. So the goal isn't to cover all of that initial orange there that we put down. It's to add to it and embellish it. Okay, let's give that brush a good clean. So I'm going to go to my pink Flamingo, which is a really, really strong pink.
Mary says she got an ink on. She put a box behind you.
Huh? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to flick this from the centre out. And I'm going to try and almost follow that same curve before that goes and falls on the floor. So you can see I'm keeping some areas of that original orange colour. I'm going really careful to avoid that black outline.
So is it the Inktense that are permanent when dry?
Yes, the Inktenses are permanent. The pastels I don't believe are. You can go back in and re-edit them if you need to a certain extent. So with this one I'm just going straight in with the pink and using that paper underneath to give me a highlight. So something like this where we've got the little petals curling up, I'm going to make sure that I go across all that section in the dark pink. Then go from the back of the petal and just flick that up so that you have the stronger colour on the edge and it will look like it's curling. And one last little bit. So tomorrow I was thinking of doing a bit of a challenge, if Ian's feeling that way inclined, or if you want your help. It's gone awfully quiet on me now.
Nice thinking.
You're thinking. You try to remember what I was saying earlier.
No.
No? Okay. So I'm just going to go back to my bigger brush for a second, because I'm going to go back to my Inktenses. And I'm just going to get some of that lighter green colour. I'm just going to go straight over the top. So our Inktenses, unless you apply them very thick, aren't going to tint our outside, or our outline I should say. But the pastels ones will definitely knock them back and make it a good deal paler. Just grab that. I'm just going to blot a little bit of that back off. So I'm going to go in with the teal green. So this is a bit more of a green rather than the teal, the turquoise. Just going to soften that with a bit of water. And let's just put a little bit of that yellow ochre in as well. So you can pre-mix your colours with the Inktense if you want to, like a traditional watercolour. You don't have to do it the same way that I'm doing it on here.
Oh no.
What?
Carol's having to give up piano for a couple of weeks. It's both her wrists are quite sore.
Ooh.
It's with the stretching to try and play the chords, she thinks.
Yeah. You're making sure that you're keeping your, it's hard to show on here, wrist as straight as you can when you're playing the keys, or are you tending to do this? It's one of those things that it's bad if you go this way and it's bad if you go that way. But if you can try and keep it straight, and then my keyboard teacher always said, imagine you've got a tennis ball in your hand that you've got to play past. So you have to keep that wrist straight, and your fingers have got to go like that round the tennis ball.
Looks like your impression of a spider.
Okay, so hopefully my watercolour's now dried a bit, and I'm going to go back over the top with that lemon again. So there isn't a yellowy green in this palette, but we can use the lemon instead to... Oh, what is it about this brush? It's blobbing today.
It's actually feeling a bit weepy.
Oh. Let's go back in there. I'm just going to go back over the top. This is going to help those colours look more softly blended.
Cara says he thinks they're fairly straight. It's the palm side of the wrists that hurt. Tried some straps that I have but cannot even play with the watch.
It's the palm side. Yeah. That sounds more like it's going a little bit like that. I used to have and Mum might know where I had this from. I used to have a little bowl filled with white rice that we got from somewhere, and I remember using that in my hand at one point.
Guys, I think
Okay.
you're upsetting your brushes and making them all cry.
No, they've been well looked after, haven't they? My watercolour brushes now have pride of place and it's all organised. I did say I was going to do a studio tour once I finished off this last little bit, but we had to have a bit of a move around, didn't we, when we changed printers, so it's like...
Yeah, again.
Okay.
Bit of rest and objects will help.
So, Ian, are we going to be foiling these tonight?
No,
No.
because we haven't got the laminator out and we haven't got any foil in here.
That's not true, there's foil up there.
Yeah, we still haven't got the laminator out.
Okay. Are you going to ask about help with challenge?
That's alright, I'll find you 5 things.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're going to do that next week then.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So we have a bit of an interesting one for next week then. Yeah. The craft room is always a work in progress, isn't it? We're getting there though, because I'm starting to know where things go when they go back. There's just a few bits that I'm not happy with yet.
It's easier said than done, Carol.
What he means to say is, the idea was that when we got the printer, the old printer was supposed to go out of the room
And back to the shop.
and back to the shop. That didn't happen, so that we could do a contact-free pickup. But Ian's idea of taking it out is he took it off the little table and has plonked it on the floor in front of the box where the laminator is. That's why he doesn't want to get the laminator out, because it means he'd have to reach over the printer. Yeah. So, what I will do...
Where'd you put the pick for the box challenge? So, in the Scan Cut group, there is a album. What did you call it?
You go to media and then albums, and then there is the Pretty Box Competition album,
There you go.
which has Carol's boxes, I should say. It has the one that I did for a blog piece, which was the printing cut one.
Louise's name.
Louise, did you manage to find where to put it?
It's actually entered, so.
I saw it on the GT group. Oh, excuse me. What is wrong with me today? Are you sure you don't want to get the laminator out here? Yeah. Oh. Okay. What I will do then is I will foil it before I go live tomorrow with my challenge. So I think it may be a 5-item challenge, or it may be a 7-item challenge if Ian's feeling generous.
Might be 3 if I'm feeling stingy.
So for those of you that are new, welcome to the group, because we've had a lot of new people joining. Yeah, I'm not sure that you have, Louise, but because I saw other DT, you're not on the... I think I need to
Go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no point getting lantern out if you're tired as well. So.
No, that's just you giving an excuse. Go on. Okay. So that was just a quick one for tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow, and I will be doing Ian's challenge, whatever that may be. I'm sure we'll post it up on the group. He says no.
It's going to be a surprise for everybody. Join you at 11 o'clock for a surprise.
Whew.
Yeah.
So take care for now, and I'll see you back here at 11. And hopefully this will be foiled and we can finish it off. Oh dear.
Right, you gonna say bye then?
Yeah. So bye bye for now. Oh, and if you have any questions, just pop them in the group and I will get round to them when I can. Take care and bye.